So if you can give some insights, Pragati, that I know you got renewed your MVP recently.
Mhm.
So people who doesn't know about MVP, or you can give a small talk about what is MVP and how long you're in this program.
Yeah, I would love to do. So yeah, those who have not heard about, MVP program that Microsoft offers is it basically stands for most valuable professional. So what Microsoft likes to do is like if there are few technology experts in the community who are basically sharing their knowledge within the community, in any way, like it could be like sharing free blogs or speaking at conferences or sharing content like on LinkedIn or other social media posts. And if Microsoft feel like that you are doing that in the right way, which they consider a right way, which no one knows, it's a black box, how do they decide someone on MVP, then they give you that recognition. So it's kind of a recognition that Microsoft gives. I've been in this program for 4 years now. So yeah, first time I got it in 2021. So yeah, this was my fourth renewal basically. So yeah, I have been doing this like for more than 4 years, and I have a very weird story around MVP. I literally didn't know what an MVP means, and someone just so one of the existing MVPs nominated me and reached out to me that I would like to nominate you for MVP. And then I was like, at that stage, I was like, what an MVP is. What is this stuff? I literally didn't know about it. And then that person had a call with him. He explained me about everything. And then he talked me through things I was doing. And then why he wanted me to be nominated as an MVP. So yeah, that's how I got into MVP. He nominated me, and then luckily I got my yeah, my MVP application accepted like in 3 months or so. So yeah, that's how I got into MVP. But yeah, for me, MVP was never a target. I just got in there somehow, and because I also feel like it should never be a target. It should be more like you like doing things within the community, you like to share your knowledge within community, that should be your goal. And it doesn't matter if you're an MVP or not. I know people who are doing so good within the community and they are not MVP, but still they are very key part of our community, like because of them many things run in the community. So yeah, that's what MVP is. Yeah, if anyone has any questions, I can answer. But yeah, that's what that program is about, and only an existing MVP or a Microsoft employee can nominate someone for a MVP recognition. So it's not like anyone can just go to a portal and create an application and then get it going. So it has to be coming from an existing MVP or a Microsoft employee.
Yeah. And actually, even the word MVP, I got to know after 10 years in the F&O, like I was working. And then somehow with someone, friend, they told me about this MVP program. Okay, what is it? I was curious. And then I got to know. But by that time, I think almost like 10 years I was in working for F&O. And then I got to know this. By the time I was already an MCT, so they said, okay, now you have only that one to reach out. But I was like curious to know about that. And then there was so many ways to come in, but then when I started, like it's not easy. Like continuously doing something for the communities also takes time for personal time and all. I
Yeah.
tried.
It has to be something you like doing. That's what I say to
Correct.
everyone. That's why I tell everyone like MVP should never be your goal. Your main goal should be contributing to the
The
community.
contributing to them.
Because if you're already doing that, someone is going to recognize your contributions and it will eventually lead you to be an MVP. So that's how
But
I
in
would
my
say someone.
case, I think close to more than 1.5 year, we started this community. This became now part of my life. Every almost two times a month we try to do. Sometimes it happens more as well. But Friday evenings are this one for me. Now,
Yeah,
whenever something Friday happens, yeah, okay, Friday, okay, I have this thing to do.
yeah. No, I think that's good.
Okay,
Because there's no like hard, list of contributions that you really need to be an MVP. And that's how, we MVPs like are every year anxious about it, whether we'll get renewed or not. Because it's a black box. We don't know how Microsoft considers someone to be renewed or, someone to be an MVP. So that's why every July we are like keeping our fingers crossed, or will we get renewed or not? Did we do the enough contributions? Did we do the right contributions? So it's like that. But yeah, it's good. I mean, it's just good to be in community. I mean, I have
For
got
me,
so
more
much
than
from this
this
community.
MVP, the learnings, the new things, what's happening outside. This is the only place we get to sit, discuss, and learn. And to spend that much of time on your own on a laptop or something is difficult than just we can listen to one session and then work on it is easier. So
Yeah,
more of a
exactly.
learning side, I look at it.
Yeah, no, I think I got introduced. I mean, MVP also has some benefits. I mean, I would say, I won't say it
Yes.
doesn't have any benefits. I mean, being in MVP program gives you some benefits. Like, for example, you get to know the community. I mean, when I was first awarded MVP 4 years back, then I actually got exposure to, oh, there are some local user groups where I can go and meet people. I can go and share my knowledge. There are conferences that are running where I can actually go and speak. I mean, I literally don't know about these things in very detail, but once I entered into the MVP program, then there are people within the program who give you all that kind of information, and then just helps you with so many things. So yeah, there are definitely benefits, but yeah, still passion for contributing to communities are altogether different things. So it should not be very much dependent on if you're an MVP, you're doing it. If you're not, you're not doing it. So it's something. But yeah, it's individual's perspective. That's how I think it. But yeah, it's up to everyone's thinking.
Probably we should do a better podcast, which we can do later on. But right now, our focus, let's come back to this session. Because when we start talking about MVP, it's never ends in 5-10 minutes. That it's a long way, a long journey to keep explaining. It's a good thing. Let's now start. I think we have a good number of audience. Hi everyone. Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, wherever you're joining from. Thanks for making time today. We have Pragati with us joining today, and the session is on Fabric. Uh, Fabric Power Data Insights. Thank you, Pragati, for accepting the invite to present in our user group. And we are really excited for our first Fabric session in our user group. And congratulations on getting your new MVP renewed. We are happy for you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Venkatesh. Yeah, I'm glad to be here. And I didn't know this is the first Fabric session on your user group. But yeah, we'll see how it goes. So should I share my screen? I mean, is that okay? I take over the screen control.
Yes, please, please.
Okay. And yeah, Venkatesh, if you think there are questions in the chat, just interrupt me. I'm just putting the window on the other screen. So yeah, I won't be able to see it. So if there are any questions, definitely let me know.
Sure.
Okay, can you all see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, so first of all, welcome everyone to this session, and glad to know that this is the first Fabric session on the user group. And thank you, Venkatesh, for inviting me. As I love sharing my knowledge. I mean, so yeah, thank you so much. And today I'm going to talk about Microsoft Fabric, which is the new thing in the market these days, and everyone is just trying to get up to speed with it. So today we are going to talk about some Fabric powered data insights. And excuse me. And those who don't know me, my name is Pragati Jain. I'm currently based in United Kingdom, London. I'm a Microsoft Data Platform MVP, as Venkatesh mentioned. And I'm also one of the super user at Microsoft Fabric community. So if any of you don't know about Microsoft Fabric community, you should definitely go and check it right now. I mean, it's the community forum where actually I have learned most of my Power BI. So I come from a Power BI background, but like from last 2 years, I'm doing more on the Fabric side and running some of the implementation around key clients within my organization for implementing Fabric. And I'm also one of the Fabric SME within my organization. I've got nearly 10 plus years of industry experience, and based in London, I'm currently working with Avanade as an analytics manager, where I work with multiple clients to create, end-to-end solutions for them, enterprise level Power BI solutions. And now I'm more into creating Fabric end-to-end solutions for them. Apart from my work, I actually am one of the organizer at Data Weekender Conference. And Data Weekender Conference, if not everyone knows about it, it's a free one-day virtual conference that 6 of us run every year. And it is like free. It is virtual, so anyone from around the world can join it. And its main focus is on data platform. So if you want to talk about anything around data platform, we welcome all speakers, and we very much support new speakers as well. So if any of you guys are planning to start your speaking journey, don't hesitate to reach out to us. And yeah, we are going to run another version of Data Weekender in November. So yeah, we'll be announcing soon on the LinkedIn. So yeah, keep an eye on our LinkedIn. And then apart from that, I also manage Microsoft Fabric UK user group, which is, again, a virtual user group like the one Venkatesh is running. So we do all the virtual sessions. We used to be Power BI UK user group earlier, but then when Microsoft Fabric came into the market, we just rebranded it to Microsoft Fabric UK user group because we wanted our user group to be open to other aspects of Microsoft Fabric as well, not just Power BI. So that's how, yeah, I do additional things. And apart from that, yeah, I write blogs. I speak at different multiple conferences, different local user groups. So yeah, that's how I do community contributions as well. And then one fun fact about me is like, I also like to do painting, and that's why I like to call myself a techie artist. It's just like a collaborative word for merging my technical skills with my artistic skills. So just a fun fact. And yeah, I recently got my Fabric Analytics Engineer Associate certification as well, which is the new DP600 certification that came out in March. So yeah, I've been training people on DP600 internally within Avanade and also outside Avanade. And being busy with some of the big clients at Avanade, I never got chance to take the certification. So I recently took the certification. So yeah, I can now proudly call myself as well a Fabric Analytics Engineer Associate. And yeah, apart from that, I'm Power BI Data Analyst Associate certified as well. So yeah, that's about me. And then let's go directly for what we have for today. So for today's agenda, what we are going to do is, as this is going to be more Microsoft Fabric, this is going to be a Microsoft Fabric focus session. So before that, I would like to ask within the audience, how many of you know about Fabric? And if you know about Fabric, have you really tried implementing solutions or tried implementing some demos in Microsoft Fabric? I mean, you can write it into chat and maybe Venkatesh can tell me. So that's my first question I want to ask. Like, how many of you you already are aware of Fabric and have started working with Fabric? Let me know, Venkatesh, if you see some things in the chat. Sure. I mean, I would love to know what background audience come from, whether they know about Fabric already or how they are. So yeah, just type in the chat. There's no need to unmute yourself. You can just type into chat and just write yes or no, whether you have explored Fabric or not. So it could be just a simple yes and no in the chat. Okay, I can see someone typing. Come on, we need this to be a interactive session. It doesn't has to be a one-way session. So let's be more interactive. And there's no harm in saying no if you don't know about Fabric, okay? There's always a start for learning something new. So don't feel shy if you haven't explored Fabric. So it's perfectly fine. Okay,
so for one yes and one no.
Yeah, it's absolutely fine. That's where I was 2 years back, right? When Fabric came like 10 months back now, I think, more than that. So I think all of us were at the same place, right? So it's fine. I'll just give another minute for people to write yes or no in the chat, just to see. Okay.
2 no and 1 yes for now.
I think Vignesh said he knows about Fabric, and yeah, I think he mentioned it in the starting as well, if I'm right. Oh no, that was that's a different person. Yeah, that was Ankesh, I guess. Sorry, I missed around the name, but yeah, okay. 4 no, 1 yes. That's fine. That's fine. It's good to know. Just aware on high level that it's a combination of ETL like ADF, Dataverse, and analytics. Okay. Okay, Manikanta. Actually, I should tell you it is more to that. We'll see what it has got more. And now my second question is, in the audience, how many of you come from a Power BI background? Do you know Power BI? Again, a simple yes and no will help me. Sorry, I think I was on mute.
Yeah, I think most of
Okay,
them
we have
says
got
yes
people from Power BI
for the BI.
background.
Yes.
Cool. Okay, cool. I think that helps me a little bit like where this session needs to go. So perfectly fine. Thanks for answering that, everyone. And then, yeah, let's see how we are going to see things in Fabric. So how I have put in today's agenda is we'll start with a very basic introduction on Fabric, okay? And I should tell you guys, I'm not a slide person. I'm a person who shows things practically in the environment. So I literally don't have many slides for today. I literally give you a very quick overview on the slides, and then we'll directly go into Fabric environment and see things, what Fabric is about, what it is capable of, what all things we can do. I've got few demos prepared already, so I can show you how I have rewired things and how I have created end-to-end demos in Fabric from, say, data ingestion to data transformation to modeling and to reporting. So we'll see all these things in Fabric. So I'll give you a very quick overview around what Fabric is. We'll then start exploring some different workloads within Microsoft Fabric, again, an overview of the environment. And then I'm going to show you some of the ready demos that I've already got. I'll see if we have got time. I can actually create an end-to-end demo as well. So in the end-to-end demo, we'll start everything from data ingestion to, say, the output that we create in Fabric, which is like a report. So I'll quickly go through the slides, as I said, because we'll spend more time on the Fabric environment. So when we talk about Microsoft Fabric, like some of you already said in the chat that you are aware of it, you know what Fabric is, and most of them said that they are not aware of Microsoft Fabric, but it's absolutely fine. I hope after this session today you get a little bit understanding on what Microsoft Fabric is about, what it is capable of at least, so you can start trying things on your own. So let's see if I do a good job in today's session. So when it comes to Microsoft Fabric, just consider Microsoft Fabric as a single unified analytics solution. Now, in different organizations, we tend to have multiple areas, right? Like, for example, you have data, say, sitting in your SQL server. Then you transform the data, like, say, maybe you do some transformations in SQL Server, and then you end up writing some pretty good looking Spark notebooks. You do some transformations on your data source, which is in SQL Server, generate some output, write it back to like say SQL Server, and then say maybe you connect to a BI tool like say Power BI, extract that data or connect to that data in SQL Server, do all your magic modeling there, and then create a report out of it. So when you don't have a unified platform, you end up using multiple elements, right? That's how things used to work. But like in last few years, now we have started seeing like there have been evolution around bringing things together. And that's where people are going for, because not every organization is capable of like, say, paying for like, say, 10 different licenses, right? Because it just takes their cost so much up. And when you have some unified platform, which kind of gives you all the capabilities, like say, you can bring your data in, store it there, you can do transformations, you can do modeling, you can do analysis, and you can generate some pretty looking reports, then that's a big win, because when you have a single platform, your team members can actually come together and work collaboratively rather than having multiple things within your organization, and which kind of creates like a mess around the flow of data as well, like where things are stored, when it is so much. I mean, I know many of you are already working in the industry, you know how the customers are, how our clients are. They've got data everywhere. And the biggest challenge these days is how to bring everything together. right? And that's what Microsoft Fabric can help you with. It gives you a single platform which can act as an end-to-end analytical platform where you can bring all your analytic capabilities together. Now, this is a very simple diagram. I know most of you have already seen it. If not, then just an overview of consider a single platform where you have a single storage layer, which Microsoft calls as a OneLake. And consider OneLake like a OneDrive. I hope everyone is aware of OneDrive, where you can store everything. You can make sure your team has got access to it, and then they can keep on putting data there, right? So consider OneLake like a single storage area, which is like a OneDrive. And on top of that, Fabric gives you different experiences or different workloads where people coming from different backgrounds or your team members coming from different backgrounds can come and do their bits. So like, for example, data factory workload here. Now, data factory workload is pretty good for data ingestions and data transformations. Someone who's coming from data engineering background can actually come and create their smart running notebooks where we can feed in our data and then they can transform data for us. So they can do all their magical bits within the data engineering workload. And say someone in your team is coming from data warehouse background, like I myself come from a database background. So data warehouse workload was very, very, similar for me because I know how SQL works, how schemas are created, how views are created, how I can analyze my data using T-SQL and SQL. So just imagine when you have people coming from different personas within your team, and when they land into Microsoft Fabric, they see so many things familiar. So if I come from a Power BI background, oh gosh, then I'll be like, oh, I know Power BI. Okay, so I know some part of Fabric. And say some of you, if anyone is coming from data engineering background, then they'll be happy. Oh, I know the data engineering bits because I've been working as a data engineer. So it is so easy for me to adopt Fabric because that's how Fabric is built. It brings together your team members who come from different personas because it kind of ends up storing data in a single OneLake. And that OneLake can be used by any of your team members coming from different experiences, and then they can just use and analyze data the way they want it to be. So that's like a very basic, architecture, like what Microsoft Fabric has got and what kind of different experiences or workloads it has got. We are definitely not going to talk about all of them because 1 hour is not sufficient for it. But I've picked up some elements which I'll be showing today, which might just help people to understand how you can get started with Fabric. For example, if you're not coming from a coding background, like say you're not a data engineer, but still you can adopt Fabric. If you're coming from a Power BI background, then I'll show you like how easy it is to come and explore some new opportunities as a Power BI developer within Fabric environment. So that was a basic architecture, like what Microsoft Fabric looks like. Now, in today's session, I'm mostly going to focus more on Power BI developers. Now, I've been working with Power BI since it came into existence, since 2015 July when it actually got released. So that's what I've been doing with Power BI. And Microsoft Fabric came into existence last year, and then everyone within my team started talking about, like I run a team of Power BI developer at Avanade, and then everyone starts talking about, has Microsoft Fabric changed something for us? And I'm like, my team members started asking me, I'm a Power BI developer. Do I need to develop things differently after Microsoft Fabric has come? Or is there something that I can still do? And on top of that, is there something new for me? So questions like that started coming, like why I should, as a Power BI developer, move to Microsoft Fabric. So when these kind of questions started coming up, that's when I thought about bringing something like this as a session, because this might just help more BI developers to understand how Fabric can help them and how their existing processes are still same if they are coming from a Power BI background. So this was something what I really like showing, like when it comes to Microsoft Fabric, the processes are still same for a Power BI developer. So like many of you wrote in the chat that, yes, you know Power BI, what it is about, and you have worked with it. So when it comes to Power BI, and when we talk about Microsoft Fabric, consider Microsoft Fabric, which is still your Power BI service end. So you're still doing the same thing. You're connecting to the data source. You're transforming your data using your Power BI desktop. You're modeling it, you're visualizing it, and you're publishing it to Power BI service, which is now Microsoft Fabric environment, and then you're sharing it with the users. So this process still remains same. But the new thing what Microsoft Fabric provides you is something now you can do on top of this. So my next slide tells you what Microsoft Fabric has actually got for Power BI developers, because you can tell me, okay, my process is still same, but still, as an organization, why someone should pay for Microsoft Fabric licensing? Someone can just ask me that. Because as a Power BI developer, an organization can just give their Power BI developers pro licenses, and they can still keep on doing the same process, and they will still keep on getting things done the way they used to get it done earlier. But what is the reason for my Power BI team or for my analytics team, I should get a Fabric license? So the biggest thing what I talk about is like when it comes to Power BI developers within your analytics team, there are few things that will help them if you go for Microsoft Fabric. The first thing is your Power BI developers can actually start exploring some new skills and they can start upskilling themselves. Now, again, I know you all are already experienced working in this analytics industry. So we all know some kind of challenges that we have faced as BI developers in the past. Like, for example, you have your data, say your data engineering team takes that data, transforms it, and then you directly get that data to do some kind of modeling and reporting on top of it, right? And sometimes there are some layers of processing which is done by the data engineers, which you are not aware of, which are basically hidden from you. And sometimes you have to literally go back and check with them how that processes are built, or say when you start modeling your data, something is not right in Power BI, so you go back to them and ask them questions. But how Fabric can help you is like, for example, on top of Power BI developer, if you can upskill yourself with some additional things, like if you come from data warehouse background, you already know SQL, right? You already know T-SQL. If you come from data engineering background, you already know how Spark works. You know how to write code in PySpark or say Scala or R. So you can actually do your own analysis within Fabric. And I'll show you how you can easily do that. The second thing what I mostly talk about, especially for Power BI developers, the new direct lake mode for better performance. We'll see what direct lake mode is in one of the slides, so I'm not going to talk about it right now. And the third thing what I talk about is, in opposition to this process, which we used to do earlier, now we can directly build that end-to-end solution in our web interface, which is a Fabric environment, which I'll show you. I know there are still limitations developing that end-to-end solution within your Fabric environment, because obviously this is a new platform and Microsoft keeps on adding new capabilities based on, the feedback that we as users give it to them. So give it a time, it will be there, but still there are most of the capabilities that we can leverage to build an end-to-end solution within Fabric environment. So we literally don't need a Power BI desktop to do things. But I understand a Power BI developer won't agree with me on that, because there are still few limitations on the capabilities when it comes to modeling and reporting side. And we as Power BI developers still like to use Power BI desktop. That's an honest answer for me. I still love using Power BI desktop. But yeah, still there's a capability. If someone who doesn't know Power BI to that detail, still that person or user can create an end-to-end solution within Fabric environment. And then the last but not the least thing, it is better for collaboration. Like we talked around earlier, like I was talking about a scenario where the data engineering team is doing some kind of transformations where say some organizations have data modelers as a different team as well. They do the data modeling. They create the data model, and then there's a reporting team that takes that final data model or semantic model. And on top of that, they start creating pretty looking reports. So when there is so much within a team, like there are divisions within a team taking over different tasks, and when Microsoft Fabric comes into picture, then that collaboration can be done much, much better. And every team has got some kind of, insights around what's really happening in every other step in an ETL process or ELT process. So that's where Fabric can literally help us. And trust me, one more slide and then we'll go into Fabric. Now I wanted to talk about direct lake mode. Sorry, let me just take a sip of water. So again, who are from the BI world working with Power BI, they are already aware of storage modes that Power BI already gives. One of them is direct query mode. And yeah, I'm literally not explaining this. There's a link which kind of explains direct lake mode, which you can literally go and look at it. But it's just a diagram I wanted to show. Like direct query mode is where literally you are trying to connect to your data source in a direct query mode. That's the mode which we guys are aware of as a Power BI developers, which still exist. And we also know like there were some kind of pros and cons of this direct query mode. Like one of the cons about it was like it was slow performing. And one of the pros about it, advantage about it is like it was real time. So if I'm having a report which is connecting to my underlying data set in direct query mode, then I would nearly get like a real time performance on the report. Whenever I open the report, I get the updated numbers. I really don't have to refresh them or, because it is nearly a live connection for me, real time for me, where everything gets updated. And obviously in direct query mode, there used to be no data duplication. And then the second mode as Power BI developers, which we are aware of, is import mode. And again, in import mode, we used to get everything into Power BI as a copy of data. And top of that, we used to do modeling. We do modeling and then reporting. But again, for every other way of bringing data into Power BI, it has got its advantages and disadvantages. So when we talk about import mode, the biggest advantage of import mode over direct query mode was it has got fast performance. But then there are two disadvantages. It is not real time as direct query, and there could be data duplication while you're bringing data in import mode. And obviously there are a few more things. I mean, we can talk about, like, for example, direct query mode doesn't allow you to create columns. Import mode allows you to do that. So there are so many technical level of details we can compare on those two different modes. But when we have Fabric now, there's a new mode, storage mode, that Microsoft introduced, which is called direct lake mode. And what they call is, it is like a combination of import and direct query. And when we say combination of import and direct query, they say that direct lake mode gives you the fast performance of import mode and nearly real-time experience of direct query mode. That's why it is combination of both. And trust me, direct lake mode is really good. I've tried it with some of the very big data sets, like a billions of rows within a data, and it kind of works pretty good. So that's again one of the advantages for Power BI developers, why they should be using Microsoft Fabric as a solution from now onwards to design their modeling and reporting. So that was about direct lake mode. And I'll be sharing these slides with Venkatesh, and I'm sure, Venkatesh, you can share it on your user group, or I can give a GitHub link by uploading this so everyone can just go through and see more on the direct lake mode. So there's a proper blog written by Microsoft. And as we started a little late today, so yeah, I just don't want to spend more time on this. I want to show you more things in action, how things can be done in Fabric, because that will help people more rather than going through the slides and, blogs and other stuff. I'll share links while going through the demos and other stuff as well. So next thing, let's do some demo. Okay. So now what I'll just do is I'll just quickly share my another screen. I'm on the right screen. Yeah. So let me know if you guys can see my browser. If Venkatesh, you can just tell me you guys can see.
Yes.
Okay, cool. So this is basically my Power BI environment. Okay. I have logged into it. And this is what our Power BI environment used to be, right? I mean, we log into Power BI and then we see everything within that environment. Now you can see a few more things going on there because I've got a few things in Fabric. Now, once you log into Power BI environment, not every one of you will see Fabric there. The reason for that is once you, before that, Microsoft gives you a 60-day free Fabric trial license. So if you want to explore Fabric capabilities, and if you don't know about it, you can literally go and sign up for that free Fabric trial license, and you can get started with it. And it's free for 60 days, so you can explore different capabilities within Microsoft Fabric, and then you can make a good judgment whether to buy Microsoft Fabric license or not. But yeah, 60 days is more than enough to explore different capabilities that this Fabric platform provides. Now, once you log into your Power BI environment, the admin of your tenant, now, not all of us are admin within the organizations we work for. So this is my private tenant where I'm showing you everything. So what you need to do is you literally need to go to admin portal settings. Now, this is my private tenant, so I'm the admin for my tenant. But this might not be the case if you're working for an organization where they've given you a Power BI license, but you won't be able to see Fabric if your administrator hasn't enabled Fabric within your tenant. So you need to ask them to enable it to try things. But if you have got a private tenant like me, then you'll have admin access and you will be okay to turn Fabric on your own. So if you go to admin portal, and there within tenant settings, now you'll see I've already enabled stuff. In order to enable Microsoft Fabric, you literally need to go to this setting. Users can create Fabric items and you just need to enable it. Now I've done it for entire organization because this is my private tenant. I'm the entire organization. So I really don't need to care about anyone else messing around with anything I'm creating, right? So I've just enabled it for entire organization, but you can do it for specific security groups as well, or ask your admin to do it for specific security groups if they don't want to enable it for the entire of your organization. So once you enable that, and once everything is done, then what you start seeing is, if I go back to the home, now I've enabled Fabric, that's why I didn't show it to you earlier. But yeah, once you enable Fabric, and if you click on bottom left here, you start seeing some additional things apart from just Power BI. And let me also, one second. Let me also, with the same, when I'm at the same place. Do we have any questions so far?
No, nothing, Pravati.
Okay, so I'm just putting a link in the chat, like how to get started around Fabric. So I wrote one blog around it, and it still remains same. So yeah, you can still go and check things around it. Okay, cool. So yeah, once you enable Fabric, and if you log into your Power BI environment, you start seeing some additional things here. And if you remember the slide that I showed you, these are different workloads available in Microsoft Fabric. So rather than here, I'll just click on Microsoft Fabric. The moment I do that, I can see all the different workloads or experiences, whatever you want to call them. So we can see a Power BI experience. We can see a data factory experience. So Power BI, I'm not going to talk about. Most of you already know about it. It's just a BI tool where we can create some rich insights and make some decisions based on the insights that we get out of data. Then data factory is another workload where you can actually bring in data, do complex transformations. You can do data orchestration there, and then it's like really good for large scale of data. Then there's data activator. I'm not going to talk about data activator, but your data activator is more about you can create alerts on your reports and workflows. There is a section for industry solutions. I'm not talking about that again. But yeah, it's more around, there are some, resources around some industry data solutions, which you can explore within the Microsoft Fabric as well, if you're interested in doing that. Then mainly we are going to talk about, another thing is about data engineering aspects and data warehousing aspects. And obviously you have got a data science aspect there as well. So if in your team you have got data scientists who write those smart machine learning algorithms for making predictions, then they have that workload available here as well. Real-time intelligence is available for streaming data. If you're working with streaming data, then this is another workload that you can use. Data engineering workload, especially for people coming from data engineering background, where they can leverage their skills around, writing those smart PySpark notebooks or, Scala notebooks or R notebooks. Then Synapse data warehouse, again, that's the workload for people coming from data warehouse background, where they can analyze data using SQL, T-SQL, but it's not just limited to them. That's what I'm going to show you today. I mean, you as Power BI developers can also start, learning or upskilling yourself in some areas. Like, for example, in in my previous years, like I come from a database background, so this workload is so much similar to me. And in my previous years, I've actually worked as a PySpark coder. So for me, data engineering aspect is something again where I can actually grow my skills. I mean, apart from Power BI, I can actually try to upskill myself, analyze stuff using, say, Spark notebooks. And I really love PySpark. The moment I started doing things again in Fabric, I've really got so much interest into it by analyzing and writing my data using some notebooks. So these are basically different experiences available within Microsoft Fabric. And I'll just go back using my Power BI workload here. So one more thing here is there's another link I can share with you. This is again a blog around okay, so Jones,
Hi, Pragati. There's one question. Yeah.
Yeah, I was trying to connect to D365. I don't know what FNO is, but yeah, okay, I understand D365 with Fabric Data Factory, but I was not able to connect. There was another option I have seen using Power Apps to extract any blogs or sites with these details. So Jones, when you say D365, can you give more details on that? What kind of connector you were trying to use? And within Data Factory, what kind of option you use to bring in the data? Because Data Factory workload gives you multiple options to bring in your data. You can bring data using data flow, you can write a data pipeline. So what were you using? I would be interested in knowing what kind of approach did you use to bring in data using Data Factory when connecting to D365? So that would be really helpful. What kind of connector you used?
So I was using Dynamics AX connector, and there was a Dynamics connector itself, not CRM one. There were three connectors related to Dynamics. So one is Dynamics connector, and the other one is Dynamics AX connector. Both of them I was trying, and it was not able to connect. And I have seen one user from a third. It's a different company, so he had shown me that using Power Apps, you can write notebook to extract this data, but the connectors was not working as expected. So is there any blog regarding that?
So when you
The
say you
Dynamics,
use,
yeah,
no, so sorry,
the
when you say
Dynamics
you
that it
use,
was finance and operations FNO.
no, I don't know about any blogs because I haven't tried connecting to D365. But my only another question was when you say about those connectors, so within data flow, did you try connecting using data flow or data pipeline? That's what I'm trying to
Pipeline.
ask. You
I
tried
was
connecting
trying
using data pipeline. Okay.
pipeline.
And what kind of error you were getting? Because I would be interested to know. Because if there's a connector available, and if it is not working in Microsoft Fabric, then you need to report back to Microsoft. Like why this connector doesn't work, because there could be, because this is you were trying to do within your organization, right, for which you work.
Yes.
So they
Yes.
might have some kind of security restrictions there. They might not be allowing, or they don't have enough ports open for bringing in your data and make it talk to your, say, cloud environment. So
Okay, I can check it out.
So I would be interested in knowing what was really stopping you from doing it, because when you use a connector in Fabric, and if it doesn't work, it gives you an error. And what that error was, something I'll be interested in knowing, because that's how I would troubleshoot a problem rather than going through the blog. And I mean, you can find blogs. I mean, unfortunately, I haven't tried D365 yet, but yeah, that's how I would approach the problem. You should go and see what error you're getting. And if you think it is something related to security constraints within your organization, then get it sorted within your organization. And if not, you can raise a ticket at Microsoft to understand why this connector is not working. You can directly ask them. I haven't tried that connector, so you can search for it and see why it was not basically working.
Okay, I'll check on that.
Yeah, I think I would suggest that. Yeah.
But I can help on that. The question what Johns have required. What I know is like you cannot directly connect to D365 Finance and Operation database, all because of the security concern and is a business oriented data. So Microsoft don't allow any database connection directly to FNO. What Microsoft do allow is through Dataverse. So if people heard about Dataverse, yeah, you can get connected to the Dataverse, move the data to the database table, and from there you can connect that service fabric or fabric what Pragati is explaining. Now coming back to how to use this fabric with D365 Finance and Operation. Currently, Microsoft is in preview with archiving the data. So if that project is live, is still in archives, like in preview stage, initial stage, and once that is live, what you can do is you can push the data to the through that archive solution what Microsoft is presenting to this Dataverse tables, and through the service fabric you can do reporting and all. So one way is through this archive solution, you can directly connect to the Dataverse, which the data is coming from the Dynamics FNO in that case. The second is, if you want, you can use Snipebase for, again, data lake has to be created, has to get exported from the main database into the Sybase database and all this thing. So there's no direct connection to FNO, but it is via different mediums.
I think,
I
Ankit,
hope
it would
this.
be great if you can share some links around the Microsoft approach that you shared, because I think that might help them, I would say.
I
Sure,
think
I'll do
Vignesh
Okay,
also
cool.
replied, like
Yeah.
he used Azure Synapse in Power Apps, where we can extract data from D365 FNO, but also it didn't work for him. He tried it since.
Yeah, if it doesn't work, then
Yes.
I would definitely recommend raising it with Microsoft, because if that's the approach, that should work. And if it's not working, I guess worth raising it. Because again, Microsoft Fabric is something new. There might be something, missing, or so I would definitely suggest raising it with Microsoft. Okay, looks like we are running out of time. I really want to show the demo. So I'll take questions. Give me some more time, because I really want to show this demo here first. Okay, so we were looking at different workloads. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to quickly show you what I have on my system and what I literally tried doing. So what I ended up doing was, I have a database instance on my SQL Server. Okay, it's an on-premise data base. And what I really tried was, I wanted to bring that data to Microsoft Fabric and do some kind of, analytics on it, and then run a report on it. That was the simple end-to-end scenario I wanted to create. So now those who come from Power BI background, you know that when you have data on on-premises data source, on-premises database, then you need a Power BI gateway to make sure your data talks to your cloud service, right? So I wrote a blog on it, how to get your SQL Server data to your Fabric Lakehouse. The link is in the chat, but yeah, I'll quickly show you how I ended up doing that. And this was something I did in the very early stage when Fabric was there. So yeah, let's see. Oh, I'm sharing the wrong screen. Sorry, my bad. Yeah. So what I did was, I just created one workspace within Microsoft Fabric. Okay, let me also show you where. So I have got, where is my SSMS gone? Yeah. So this is my SQL Server. I'm using SQL Server Management Studio. And here I've got databases. And yeah, I'm using the classic example of Contoso data that you can easily get and search online. It is available from Microsoft and even the AdventureWorks. But what I ended up doing was, I wanted to get this Contoso data in my Fabric environment somehow. So this is my SQL Server Management Studio. And I've got a Power BI gateway running to make sure this data talks to my Power BI service again. But yeah, this is something we really don't need to talk around, but yeah. So what I ended up doing was, now I come from Power BI world. So I generally go for low code, no code solution. That's how my mind works. So I created a workspace in my Fabric environment. And what this workspace has got is, it has been set up on our Fabric trial. So if you see the licensing information of my workspace, it is actually connected to my Fabric trial environment. That's how I have done it. So I've enabled Fabric for this workspace. And what I ended up doing now, when you have you create a workspace within your Fabric environment, you have got multiple ways to bring in data. And And whenever you are in a workspace, you can actually go here under new. And if I go to more options, it kind of gives you different ways how you can bring in data. And here you can see your different workloads and experiences as well, like data activator, data engineering, data factory, data science, and so on. But what I ended up doing, as I said, I come from Power BI world. So I start doing things using low code and no code approach, because that's the approach which most of the users love doing as well. So for example, if someone doesn't come from a coding background, then how they can actually adapt to Fabric. That's why I love showing a low code, no code approach to how easily someone can bring data in. So what I ended up doing, I used the data flow Gen 2. Now, data flows. In the olden Power BI world, if you don't have Microsoft Fabric enabled, you can't use data flow Gen 2. You will still use Dataflow, the older version that we Power BI developers are used to using, which is Dataflow Gen 1. But if you want to use capabilities of Microsoft Fabric, like for example, fast copy or better things in the Power Query editor, then online Power Query editor, then Dataflow Gen 2 is the way to go. So what I did was I created a Dataflow Gen 2, and obviously now I'm not creating it because we are short of time today. So I'm going to my workspace, and I created this data flow, Contoso data flow. And what I ended up doing here was within my Contoso data flow, I created a connection using my SQL Server database. And what I did was I literally connected to a SQL Server instance. And once I connect to that, then my data flow shows me that it is connected to my Contoso retail database, which is residing on my on-premises SQL Server. And I'll not, so I can see all the tables in the database, but I ended up just bringing few of them. Now you can see I've created some folders because I really like my Power Query to be organized. I hate doing things messy. So I like to organize them properly. So these are my staging queries where I literally got all my tables as it is from my database and just did basic things on them. Like for example, change type or remove few columns. And then I've got a fact table where I'm getting everything in here. So, and the good thing about Dataflow Gen 2, obviously it's a good thing, but the additional thing, what you see in Dataflow Gen 2 is like whenever you get a query here as a table, it kind of asks you a data destination. So now here, I ended up choosing Lakehouse as data destination, but there are different data destinations you can choose. Like there are 3 more. You can choose data warehouse, you can choose a Kusto database. So you can actually have different destinations. But in this case, I ended up using a Lakehouse because I am comfortable with using Lakehouse, and then Lakehouse has got more capabilities on top of data warehouse as well. So that's why I ended up writing all my tables to a Lakehouse. And when I hover over it here, now I've already given a data destination. That's why it shows it this way. I can see that I have created a Lakehouse, Contoso Lakehouse, which is in my Contoso Fabric Contoso workspace, and then where I'm writing this table as fact_cells. And once I've got everything in there, I just publish my data flow. Now this is already published. So ideally, I'm going to exit it. Now my Lakehouse, which is basically a storage on top of my one lake, is created here. And within this Lakehouse, all my tables are created and saved. Now, one thing about Lakehouse is whenever a Lakehouse is created, it ends up creating 2 more elements with it. One is a semantic model and the other one is SQL endpoint. Now, why these 2 things? We'll see quickly. If I go to my Contoso Lakehouse first, I can see here that all the tables which I had in my data flow, which I just created, wrote all my tables here. So I can quickly see all my tables are written here properly. That's fine. I'll go back to my workspace again. And yeah, everything is pinned here. Whatever you open is pinned here until and unless you remove it. So that's a very nice thing I like about this environment. It kind of pins whatever I've opened here on the left. So this is still my Lakehouse. I go to my workspace and then let's see what a SQL endpoint is. When I go to my SQL endpoint, what I see is I still see all my tables here. I can see all these tables are written here, and then I can just, now good thing about this SQL endpoint is here I can actually write SQL queries to analyze my data. Now, again, I would say like when some people come from database background. Now, as a Power BI developer, I come from a database background, so I can actually do some kind of analysis before even digging into creating a semantic model and report, because I want to do some kind of analysis before I go forward with the data, whether this data is written properly in the lakehouse the way I wanted it to be, right? So that's where I can actually use my skills. Or suppose if I don't know, I can upskill myself. I can learn how to write SQL queries and analyze my data. So SQL endpoint gives me a capability to explore data by writing simple SQL queries. Like, for example, I ended up writing this simple SQL query. And you can create a new SQL query from here. I'm not doing that because I've already got it here. So for example, if I want to select top 100 rows from my fact online sales table. So that's how I can do that. It's a simple query I wrote, nothing funny or, nothing complicated. And then from here, I can actually do other things as well. Like, for example, if I want to visualize data, if I want to open this data into Excel. So there's a different kind of capabilities I can do running this query. Or say if I want to save this result as a view, so I can directly save that as a view as well, and then use it in my modeling to create a report. So that's where the SQL endpoint helps us with analyzing the data. And if you're pro at writing SQL queries, then this is like a major gift for you, where you can just come and analyze data, do different kinds of analysis. Like, for example, if you're trying to understand how much data is there, you're trying to count rows, you're trying to understand max and minimum date within your data and all that kind of stuff. So you can do all the kind of analysis before even starting working with this data for creating your model or doing any additional transformations. So this was about SQL endpoint. And then the next thing what we have here is a semantic model. Now this semantic model, sorry, my bad. Let's just go to our SQL endpoint here first. So this is my SQL endpoint. So when I was looking at my data or, analyzing my data within SQL endpoint, at the bottom, I've got two different tabs. One is query, where I was actually running my queries and analyzing my data. The third tab is my model tab. If I go into model tab, then I can see there are so many tables there. Obviously, because these are the tables within my lakehouse. So they are part of my model here, right? I mean, obviously, I haven't created a proper model here, but this is known as the default model that gets created within your lakehouse. So if you have got 20 tables, your all 20 tables are part of your default model. But what if, as a Power BI developer, I really don't want to use all of these tables? I want to create something, say a new model, new semantic model, which kind of helps me building my reports in future. So what I can also do is, if I go to the reporting tab, I can actually create a new semantic model. And once I click on that, I write a name of my semantic model, and then I can start selecting tables, and based on that, a new semantic model is created. Obviously, once you create the model, it will just bring in these tables. I'm not creating it. It will just bring in these tables without any relationship. It will be your responsibility to go to that new semantic model and create relationships. So I followed the same process because I literally didn't want all those 15 tables in my data model. So I ended up creating a new semantic model. And if I open this model, it's a very simple semantic model, nothing major in there. If you see it, you can clearly see I've got a fact table, I've got few dimension tables, and this is how I have created relationships. Now, the good thing about this new, web version of this is, very quickly you can select a relation, you can see how it is built, on what column it is built, what key columns you are using to get it built. You can see some of my bidirectional relationship is going on here, which is actually not good from best practice point of view, but I like to keep it to show some bad practices as well. So yeah, you can see all the kind of relationships here on the right tab. Now, the good thing, what I like about this new web version of creating relationships and adding things on top of your model is you can actually start writing measures here. Obviously, you can't write columns or you can't create new table right now, but you can create new measures. But before that, if you see all of these tables, and if you hover over them, you can see your storage mode is direct lake. So no import mode, no direct query, it is direct lake because your data is stored in one lake. So that's why within Fabric, you use direct lake by default because your data is coming from your one lake. So that's the storage mode it kind of shows you. And then here you can end up creating your measures as well. So like, for example, I ended up creating some measures on top of my data model. For example, if you see on the right, there's a model section. No, I don't want to take a tour. And then you can clearly see, like, for example, I ended up creating 3 measures. I have got 8 relationships. I have got 9 tables in my semantic model. So I really like this summary, which kind of comes up here. And, it just helps me in understanding what's really happening within my semantic model. So you can literally go and create a measure from here within your table. And then, yeah, it's kind of pretty good for a start. I mean, where you can use Copilot as well. I mean, obviously, I don't have Copilot enabled, so I can't use it, but there are capabilities to use Copilot as well. So you can do all those kind of things. You can change the data types as well. So for example, I've created measures here, and if I want to play around with their settings, then I can, play around with their formattings and everything. So this is very much similar to what we get in Power BI Desktop. I won't say 100% capabilities of Power BI Desktop are here, but still there are enough capabilities for you to manage a good semantic model at a high level within Fabric environment. So that's how you can create a simple semantic model. And once you have a semantic model in place, like for example, we have already got a semantic model, we can actually use this semantic model to create a report on top of it. So like, for example, I can analyze this data. I can also explore this data. Or say, if I want to create a paginated report, now if you guys have heard about paginated report, they're like pixel perfect reports that are created. So we can use the same semantic model to create a paginated report as well. We can ask Power BI to do some kind of auto create report. So behind the scene, it use again AI algorithm to create a report automatically on top of your data, or you can create a report from scratch. So like, for example, I ended up creating a very basic 1-pager report to show on top of the semantic model. So I can clearly create a good report here. So that's how, you can do like end-to-end stuff, right? I mean, we ingested the data in our lakehouse, we bought the data, and obviously within the same data flow, we ended up transforming the data as well, because I wanted to use the low code, no code approach to do that. And on top of that, we ended up creating a semantic model followed by a report. So that was like a scenario from data ingestion to reporting, like how we can do that. And obviously you can do different other elements to do it as well. Like for example, if I go to another workspace, I'll just quickly show this Fabric Yellow Taxi workspace where I'm actually using notebooks and data flows to bring in my data. So like, for example, if you see here, we can ignore task flows for now. We can see like I've got a data pipeline as well to get a data to get some part of data. I've got a data flow to get some part of data. I've written a notebook that kind of does some transformation on my data. Like I'll just open one notebook and show you what it does. It's doing very basic stuff there, but still it was helpful to do in notebook because it kind of didn't take much time, because some, like those who of you have worked with data flows, data flows are really not good when it comes to huge data. So when you have very large volume of data flows is not the right solution to do the transformations. But now when I have Fabric, I can actually use notebooks to do that, because notebooks run under the hood of on top of Spark Engine, and Spark Engine are good for doing parallel processing, especially for big data. And when that capability is here, I can actually, if I don't know PySpark, I can still upskill myself, because it helps me increase my productivity. Rather than waiting for a data flow to do stuff like in 2 hours, my notebook just does it like in few seconds or few minutes. Like for example, here what I did was I actually got New York yellow taxi data. And then I just did some transformations. Like for example, if I was modifying the columns within the data and then writing it back to my, lakehouse. So that's where my notebooks can help me. Like where my data flows fail, I can actually use notebooks to do those things, and that also more in a faster way. So that's how, you can actually upskill yourself, and it kind of really helped me. I mean, trust me. And yeah, I know that now in data flows, they have got this fast copy functionality, but still it takes time to run. So I did a test with Dataflow yesterday, I guess. Yeah, I don't remember how much time it took to do, but I tried to load 5 billion rows of data. Okay, it can't, I don't know if this is the duration. So like if in 5 minutes it got me 5 billion rows, then it's pretty fast. I'll have to check that in detail if that number is correct. But yeah, I tried fast copy in Dataflow on 5 billion rows, and it feels like it kind of worked. So yeah, there are a few more capabilities that are coming up, but still I wanted to show, like, if you are coming from Power BI world, it doesn't have to be like you have to learn new things, but if you learn new things, it can help you with productivity. It can help you optimize things. So in certain cases, say data flows don't work, but then you can use notebooks to do things. If you're working with very huge data, you can use notebooks. So those kind of things can really help you. For example, shortcuts in Lakehouse are another way of working. Mirroring now has come up as well. So there are few things which can really help us to increase our productivity within the team. And especially say if you're working with a data scientist or data engineering, that engineer person, then you can still work collaboratively with them here within the same workspace as well. And also there are a few new things that have come up in Microsoft Fabric, like for example, task flows. I was playing around with task flows a few days back. So like it kind of helps you, defining the stages within your workspace. Like for example, load data is happening using notebooks and pipeline. In this case, I'm storing it into a lake house, and then I'm preparing and transforming the data and then writing it back to my lake house, and then creating a semantic model on top of it. And on top of semantic model, I'm visualizing the data and doing some data exploration. So I really like task flow to that level, but I won't say I just love it, because it still misses few things. But I still like to, see that there's a flow I can create. So if anyone who has got access to this workspace opens this workspace, they can still see, okay, how the whole ETL or ELT process has been designed within this workspace. So from that point of view, as a starting point, I really like task flows, and they kind of work pretty well in the first instance. So yeah, I think they're pretty good. And yeah, obviously apart from that, I think I really wanted to show that, like, I just couldn't dig into detail because we ran short of time today. But yeah, that's how I really wanted to show, like, how you can easily do a end-to-end demo very easily in Fabric. And it doesn't matter, I mean, whether you come from Power BI background or whether you come from data engineering background. So like when a person like me coming from Power BI background, it gives me, and Microsoft Fabric allows me to upskill myself with some aspects like data engineering bits, or like say data warehousing bits. But for example, if there's someone who's in the audience who's coming from data engineering bits, you can still upskill yourself with additional things. Maybe like you can go into semantic modeling side and you can start exploring that bit. You can go into data warehousing or data science, and personas to explore your skills as well. So that's how I feel like it doesn't matter from whichever background you come from, but Microsoft Fabric still gives you capabilities that will help you being skilled in whatever skill you are. But on top of that, you can learn something new. So if you're coming from Power BI development background, definitely Microsoft Fabric is for you. Trust me, it solves a lot of issues. I've worked with few clients where we ended up solving a lot of issues for them using Microsoft Fabric. And it kind of, just wowed them with few things like, oh, Fabric can give us this as well. So yeah, this was I really wanted to show in today's demo. And then there are a few resources I have got in the deck. I'll be sharing the deck with Venkatesh so he can share as well. You can go to Fabric Learn Paths, you can go to Fabric documentation, you can read about Fabric licensing. So one thing on the licensing is, like, if any of your customers or clients have already got premium capacity, then Fabric is by default enabled for them. But if anything lower than premium capacity, so like for example, premium per user license or just pro license won't give you Fabric. But if you are in an organization where there's a premium capacity enabled, it brings Fabric with it. You don't need to pay additional fee for a Fabric, because that's how the licensing has been put on for Fabric. Then you can go to Career Hub page, which is pretty interesting place I like, where you have got several different resources for Microsoft Fabric. There are learn rooms, there are Microsoft Teams channels that some of us MVPs are running to get people up to speed for on Fabric. So you can enroll for these Microsoft team-based channels as well. Then yeah, Microsoft Fabric blog. If you want to stay up to date with what all monthly updates they bring in, then definitely go to Microsoft Fabric blog. Then obviously, as Microsoft Fabric is here, so there's a new certification called DP600 certification, which is the Fabric Analytics Engineer Associate certification. So if you want to start your journey with Fabric, maybe why not prepare for certification? Because preparing for certification can give you a chance to explore Fabric end to end, and maybe you never know, you'll just pass the certification and you'll be one of the certified Fabric engineer within the community as well. So I like certification as part of a learning thing. Like they just help you learn and explore the whole platform end to end. And yeah, I think good luck with your Fabric journey. And I know, oh, that's a typo. Good luck with your Fabric journey, but that's fine. So yeah, good luck with your Fabric journey. And I know some of you have already explored Fabric, already working with it. But yeah, if you have got any questions, then happy to answer any questions. And also more than happy for you guys to connect with me on LinkedIn, Twitter. I've got my YouTube channel, which I don't do much there, but yeah, I've got my blog. And then I'm also on Fabric community as a super user. So more than welcome to connect with you. And yeah, if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Yeah, Sushil, you can unmute yourself and ask the question.
Let me just bring the chat.
Hi, Pragati.
Yeah. Hi.
Hi, Venkatesh. Thank you for organizing this session. Pragati, looks like you are based out of UK, right?
Yeah, I'm based in London, actually. Yeah.
Yeah. So we have our store, Hamley store, which we are already running on Dynamics 365 point of sale.
Yeah.
So just wanted, so we are currently using Tableau for all our visualizations and everything. I just want to understand, whenever a cashier punches a bill, right? We monitor our sales on hourly basis. So there is actually, we actually monitor everything real time, or I would say near real time.
Mm-hmm.
So there is a delay of almost 18 to 20 minutes. So we get the data of what happened in the last 1 hour, right? So with Fabric, so I'll just help you explain. The cashier punches a bill on the point of sale, then it flows to the cloud scale unit. From cloud scale unit, it goes to Dynamics 365. From Dynamics 365, it goes to BYOD. And from BYOD, it goes to BYOD is nothing but Azure SQL. And from there it goes to Tableau, and then it fires up a report. So the entire delay is 20 minutes. I just want to understand that if we move this to Power BI, do you think it will be as fast, or can we optimize time, like maybe 10 minutes we can get that data, something of that sort?
So
we need
first,
real to real time information.
Yeah. No, you can definitely get that done in Fabric. So one thing here is, like, you have got so many different elements before your data comes to Azure SQL, right? Your cashier enters the information and that ends up into some cloud environment. Did you say that? And then from there it comes to D365, and from D365 it comes to Azure SQL, and then it goes to Tableau. So before your information comes to Tableau, you have got 3 different environments where your information gets stored.
Yes.
Right? So I really don't know why you really need those 3 different environments.
That's
your
a
cloud.
Microsoft. That's a Microsoft architecture. The moment you do a transaction and commit a transaction on point of sale, it automatically gets replicated on the cloud scale unit. And on a batch level, that data gets fetched from cloud scale unit back to D365. And then again, a batch runs, which through entities, we push the data back to Azure SQL.
But is it really necessary to have that 2 batch level process? Like, why can't you write that?
Because it's not, it's a standard Microsoft architecture that the way I'm pulling the data from our cloud scale unit.
No, I understand it's a standard Microsoft architecture, but how old is that architecture approaches? That's what I will question.
Very new.
If it's a yeah, sorry, say that. Is it old?
Yeah. No, it is not old. It is a standard topology of Microsoft. It's not new, or it's not. This is how retail works, and this is how a data push happened from D365 to Azure SQL. So these are prima facie 2 different architectures altogether, I would say.
So the time between your cashier enters information to the time it lands in Azure SQL, if it's a standard Microsoft approach that they say, I don't think you can remove that, because if you want to land your data to OneLake in Microsoft Fabric, you still need to connect your data to Azure SQL and get it to OneLake. And on top of OneLake, you can definitely create semantic model, do a Power BI reporting. But the time between your cashier entry to landing your data to Azure SQL can never eliminate, because you still want to follow that process.
Shakti, we can leave that part. The only thing I'm trying to understand that the moment we need to push the data out from D365, and do we really need Azure SQL in between? Can we not use some other database? Can we not make it? Is there a way to process this information faster?
Yeah, that's why I asked you whether it's an approach, and you said it's a standard approach. So I really I don't see a need of Azure SQL. I don't know why Azure SQL was chosen as a solution. You could have directly landed your D365 data to a OneLake in Microsoft Fabric. And once your data is in OneLake, then you can, if you create a semantic model on top of it, it is by default refreshed real time. And it is actually direct lake mode that I talked about. So it will definitely give you efficiency, but I really don't know how much it will give when it compared to Tableau, because I really don't know how much time. So I don't know Tableau. I know very limited Tableau. So I really don't know how much time it takes in Tableau to refresh your data.
Is there some sort of use case which you have done for the retail industry, like some? Okay.
Not definitely having all these 4 different elements.
Okay. Understood.
Yeah.
Thank you.
But I would say it's worth trying Fabric, because I have worked with some of the clients where we ended up migrating their, say, Tableau dashboards to Power BI reports, and it kind of helped them in a lot of performance issues and efficiency, because Tableau works in very different way when compared to Power BI. Power BI works on a modeling approach. So you create a golden source, basically semantic model, and feed it to your multiple reports, rather than Tableau using independent files to create your multiple dashboards, right? So it can actually help you in optimizing a lot many things. So I would say worth looking into Microsoft Fabric, how it can help you. But yeah, it might help you. And again, it depends on the volume of data, and you're saying it's a near real-time data, right? So it has to be something you need to test it with Fabric. So you can definitely try Fabric, try license and test this thing. I mean, if the customer allows within their tenant, and see how it can help. But I'm sure it can help them.
Thank you.
Okay. Are there any more questions?
Any more questions? Guys, feel free to unmute and ask your question, or you can put it in the chat so we can answer them. We still have a couple of minutes left before we close the session. I think it was pretty informative session today, even a lot of learning for me as well on the side of Fabric.
Yeah, I hope, I mean, it was helpful, because I know some were already trying to explore Fabric, some had already explored Fabric, and I know there were majority who haven't explored Fabric. So hopefully the session was helpful for them to understand how it works. Yeah.
I'll try reinstalling the Power BI desktop and try all these flows, explore myself with the Fabric as well.
Yeah, I mean, Fabric has got so much into it, so no harm in exploring, I guess. I think if there are questions, you can unmute rather than typing. It's absolutely fine. Because I see someone is typing. I'm not sure if it's a question or something else.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It was more on auto pause option on Fabric.
Yeah,
So because we are using F64 for our deployment. It comes with a huge bill. So we are pausing and resuming it whenever we want the pipeline to be run on the capacity side. So do we have an auto pause planned for Fabric in future?
I really don't know about it. I mean, when you say auto pause, I mean, is it like disabling Fabric completely?
No, we get the option to pause it and then resume the capacity.
You can pause your capacities in Azure portal.
Yep.
So you can do that in Azure portal whenever you want. But I really don't know if there's something coming regarding auto pause or auto start, something like that. I haven't seen it yet. Maybe worth reaching out to Microsoft for it. Maybe if they're planning to bring something, because they're working quite hard on this product, and then every other day they bring in so many updates. So maybe you can raise it. They might bring it sometimes. Because I understand why you need auto pause and auto start, right? It can just help you manage your capacities. So yeah, I really don't know if they're planning it.
Now we are using PowerShell connect to a webhook and then integrate it into our pipeline to start and stop as soon as the pipeline is ended.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, no, I know, I agree to that. But sorry, I don't know. I don't know the insider information. That's the Microsoft product team. They know the stuff, what they're bringing and what they're not bringing.
Yeah, looks like Vignesh has a question.
Yeah, hi, Brad. This is Vignesh. Hello.
Yeah.
Yes, Vignesh, we can hear you.
Actually, most of us in our call today, we are trying to get D365 F&O tables from D365 to Fabric. This is what many of us are trying. The link which I have shared, that one suggested by Microsoft. We don't need to create any pipeline or data flow. We can just configure the Azure Synapse link to get the D365 F&O table.
Okay.
But that's not working. So if you tried something like you can
So
maybe
sorry.
like workable solution, like what is the workable solution to get the D365 table?
I think
So
most of them has this question on F&O integration with the Fabric.
I think if an approach that is suggested by Microsoft in a blog is not working, then the best way is to reach out to Microsoft. That we
Yeah,
have tried this approach, why this is not working. That's the easiest way to get it sorted. And trust me, Microsoft can actually answer pretty quickly when you are raising issues with them.
Yeah,
So
we raised the ticket as well. They are coming and still they are checking only. Past 2 weeks are going. They also couldn't able to figure it out. So I just thought like if anyone are in the channel knows things, they can share.
yeah, I mean, if anyone has got it sorted, I mean, happy for them to jump in and tell where things are wrong. But yeah, I think it is worth going to Microsoft if it's not working, because if they have given an approach that how you do things, and if it's not working, definitely raise that question on the forum. You can go to Microsoft, you can raise incidents with Microsoft, right? So definitely go and check with them. And I know many of you have question, and unfortunately, I haven't tried connecting to D365. So I really don't know where it works and where it doesn't work.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
Any more questions, guys?
And there are some limitations on that blog. I hope you have checked it. Known limitations with finance and operation tables. Worth checking that if your use case falls under those limitations, because I can see so many limitations actually. So the link that you shared, Vignesh, I think, I mean, if you have gone through limitations, it's fine. But if not, I'm just trying to point out there are so many limitations on this approach they have mentioned. So worth going and checking if it is not working for you. Go through the limitations and see if your use case falls in any of these. And if not, you're 100% sure it doesn't work, I would say get on a call with Microsoft, raise it with them and get it sorted. That's how easily you can get it done. And yeah, I sorry, I'm not an expert with Azure Synapse, so I just can't help anyone doing that. Yeah.
Okay, if no more questions, then we're good to end the session. And if you have any more questions, feel free to reach out to her, to Pragati or LinkedIn, or reach out to me. I'll connect with you guys with her so that we can help each other. Thank you so much, Pragati. Thanks for providing the insights on Fabric. And we're all together in this learning journey. And to the next session we have on ensuring responsible AI content safety in Azure OpenAI. This is happening on 26th July, 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. Dubai time. And we have the speaker Divya, who is presenting the session. And we have our YouTube channel. If you have missed out this session or you want to recap this session, it will be uploaded into our YouTube channel, and all our past sessions are available there. Thank you so much. Happy learning, and see you in our next event. Thank you so much, Pragati. Thanks everyone for joining.
Thanks everyone. Thanks for joining, and thanks for having me, Venkatesh. And yeah, definitely, I'll share the slides with you, Venkatesh. So maybe you can put it on your user group.
Sure,
If anyone wants to look for them. But yeah, definitely reach out to me on LinkedIn or Twitter if you've got any more questions on Fabric. So yeah, thanks everyone. Have a great day or great night, because I know you guys are joining from different time zones. So have a great evening. Bye. Take care.
Bye. Happy weekend.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh yeah, happy weekend.